How's it, everybody? This is a story about my son-in-law Bula's passing. I was out on my porch one night, and Kevin wasn't home. He was working, and so I'm out there, and I don't have any of the lights on, and where we live, it's dark. There's no street lights or anything like that, so it was really, really dark, and I was sitting in a chair way at one end of the porch, and behind me was the pipe for the catchment tank system. And if you're not familiar with the Big Island, this side of the island, the east side of the island, a lot of houses don't have county water. So we have either a well or we have catchment. And real quick, how catchment works is we have roofs, metal roofs that have grooves in them. And when the rain comes, all the rain goes down a pipe and it goes down into a catchment tank. Catchment tank looks like a great big above ground swimming pool. So when you go to use the water, you turn the water on. The water from the tank goes through a series of filters and then through a UV filter and then gets pumped back into the house. So that's the way the basic catchment tank works. So I was out on my porch this night, and the pipe for the catchment that came from the roof was behind me by about 2 or 3 feet. And all of a sudden I heard this gush of this an immense amount of water that came down through the pipe behind me, and you could hear it coming. It was gushing, and it was just, I've never heard that kind of water come down. And actually, it's really not possible for that pipe to hold that amount of water. But it just came gushing. And it was like the sound of, like a milk jug when you go to pour it and you don't have that smooth flow. And so it starts making that gulping noise. It was like that, only just this massive. And it was super loud. And it happened just like that. It started. And so it scared me. I jumped up because it was happening right behind me. And I walked across, about halfway across the porch. And I turned around, and it's not raining. It's just the water that was coming down. It was, I don't know where it came from. And it went on and on and on. And it hadn't rained in weeks. So where's the water coming from? But you could hear it. You could hear it splashing. You could hear it, just the sound of almost like a waterfall. And so, I just stood away from it. Because I didn't know what it was, and was it was super alarming. It was super alarming because it just started out of the blue, and then it stopped. And so I went and I sat back down, and all of a sudden I started hearing just a mist, a really like it's sort of starting to drizzle. So I get up and I go over to the edge of the porch and I put my hand down to feel if it actually is drizzling, because I can't see. It's pitch black. And all I feel is just mist. And it only goes on for about 30 seconds and then it stops. So I'm thinking, what was that? What did I just hear? Because it wasn't raining, and it hadn't rained in weeks. So was it a I don't know, was it a sign it was going to mist? That didn't make any sense because the mist was so fine. And this amount of water that came out was just a massive. So I'm completely confused, disoriented. I don't know what is happening, what I'm picking up. And it starts again. The water comes down, but now the water is coming down. It's just going whoosh. And it went on and on and on. It probably went on, seriously, if you were timing it, 3 or 4 minutes without stopping. And I didn't, I mean, it was just, and then it stopped. So, I thought about that the next day. Made no sense to me. Next day after that, which was 2 days later, I get a phone call from my daughter, and she calls me up, and she's crying. She's sobbing, and she's going, "Mom, Bula, dead." And that's all I heard. And I said, "What, Sasha? What? What? I don't understand what you're saying to me." She said it again and again. Finally, she calmed down. She said, "Mom, Bula was killed. He was killed by a hit-and-run driver this morning." Okay. So I got as much detail from her as, I could get of what little bit that she knew, because it had just happened that morning. And so we hang up the phone, and Kevin is there, but he hasn't left for work yet. He's working starting in the afternoon. So he had gone to turn the TV on for something, and he had the TV on, and then the TV would glitch out. It would stop, or it would go black, or it wouldn't load, and he tried it probably 2 or 3 times, and the TV just wasn't working, which was really odd. But, I mean, he leaves for work, and, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to put this together. The water behind me 2 nights before, and now this thing with Bula, the phone call, and I'm not understanding. What was it? Was it a warning? Was it an announcement that he was going? I don't know what it was. So the next day, I'm sitting on my porch, and it's like kind of middle of the day, early afternoon, and thinking about that water, thinking about the phone call about my son-in-law passing away. And I look out, and about 50 feet from the porch, right at my roof line, is an Eva bird. But it's not a black Eva bird, it's a gray Eva bird. I saw 3 of these when 3 other women had passed away, and it looked just like that. It was this gray, almost that you could see through. But this one was all by itself, and it was flying up right next to the side of the house. And it was so massive that it looked like it was prehistoric. Just like it came from some other time or something, like the kind of stuff that you think about when you think of dinosaur days and stuff like that. That's how big this thing was. And it was flying past the house. As it's flying past the house, it starts to break up, and it breaks up to where it's sort of like just became particles. And it's going in the direction behind our mango tree. While I'm watching this thing, I hear Kevin pull up downstairs. And as he pulls up, I'm running to the end of the porch to try and watch where this thing is going. And Kevin gets out of the car, and he's like, "What are you doing? What are you looking at?" And I screamed to him, "Do you see an Eva bird?" And he says, "What?" And I said, "Do you see an Eva bird coming out the other side of the mango tree?" And he looks, and he said, "No, there's no Eva bird." And I'm like, but it went behind. But it started to vanish and break up before it even got behind the mango tree. So it was Bula. There's no question it was Bula. And the amount of water that came, it was such a massive amount of water. And that was the word that just kept coming to me. And then to see this Eva bird that was so huge again, the word massive was the first thing that came to me. And Bula had a shirt. Now, Bula was over 400 pounds. And he had a shirt that said massive across it. So it was Bula. And, they weren't together any longer. My daughter and Bula, they weren't together any longer. So I don't know if I was surprised that he came. Not really, maybe. I don't know. He knew I have this weird thing with spirits and stuff. Not weird. Blessing. So I guess that's why he came. So I hope he's at peace. Thanks for watching. Aloha.